10 Powerful Lessons I Learned Watching The Mandalorian and How I Was Inspired to Practice Active Mindfulness by Watching Star Wars. In this short case study, I share an easy way to practice active mindfulness and gain powerful life lessons while watching an entertainment show like The Mandalorian. How many have dressed up as a character from Star Wars for Halloween? Well, I have already been drawn to the Dark Force when I took the mask of Darth Vader once for Halloween. This was 30 years ago. Nevertheless, how many kids nowadays still go trick-or-treat as Kylo Ren, Boba Fett, or Princess Amidala? A lot, I suppose. This is the powerful legacy of George Lucas's mythology deeply embedded in our minds. I am not an active member of the Star Wars fandom, but I have followed every chapter of the Skywalker Saga, the original and most significant movie series of the Star Wars archetype universe by George Lucas. Despite some controversy about the franchise's legacy, Disney seems to carry on the torch first lit by George Lucas in 1977 as he envisioned a sci-fi mythology that could provide moral guidance within the context of a renewed sense of spirituality and transcendence. In an interview, George Lucas shared that he had created the Force's concept to awaken a new kind of spirituality in young people, so they could believe in a higher power keeping the balance between all things. This has made generations question the mystery and everlasting tension between chaos and order in our universe. Hence, the Jedis have been teaching us powerful life lessons for over 40 years since A New Hope arose in a galaxy far, far away. Disney's The Mandalorian brings forward the latest expansion in this guild of enlightened gurus. I have watched every episode of the series so far. Afterward, I reviewed each one from an active mindfulness perspective, hoping I could help others find a higher sense of awareness. Finally, I resumed my findings in this new case study, which is part of my research for new insights during the COVID-19 crisis. Applying Murphy's Law to COVID-19 gave me a new insight into mindfulness. Conscious acceptance is empowerment, how I regained control over my life by accepting Murphy's Law. Hereunder, you will find my analysis of each episode of The Mandalorian released up to this moment, focusing on subliminal powerful life-changing lessons. Chapter 1. The Mandalorian. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. If a well-paying mysterious client sends me in a wild goose chase for the new Messiah, probably there's a catch to it. Chapter 2. The Child. When you reach your goal, someone else has already claimed it. Life is full of scavengers, thus, the best way to succeed is to find a workaround or, better yet, outsmart them. Chapter 3. The Sin. Always expect the unexpected. The time when an objective is closer, this is when I should be more doubtful and go full metal jacket. I always expect the unexpected and try to sharpen my wits to gain leverage if anything goes wrong. And I find myself in a tight situation. I seize any touch-and-go moments when they are at hand. Then when I find my insight, I take action immediately. Chapter 4, Sanctuary. The Stand Your Ground Law. Sometimes referred to as the line in the sand, it means that people may use any means necessary when they reasonably believe it to be necessary to defend against the unlawful use of force in a harmful way. So I never let others push me away or block me from my goal. To be successful in life, I have to draw this line clearly. Only then do I take control of my life. In this episode, Dune insists the villagers leave and make their home elsewhere, but they refuse and decide to fight. Learning how to say no is an open path to a better life. Chapter 5. The Gunslinger. No battle plan ever survives contact with the enemy. This episode shows how I should never share a foxhole with anyone braver than me. I am the sole measure of my own risk. One of the most valuable lessons I learned back in my army days is how the brave fall first and fools are next in line. Chapter 6. The Prisoner. How I keep an eye on enemies but watch out for any so-called friends. When Mondo joins a group of felons to rescue one of their brothers from a space jail, he is betrayed and left behind in a cell, while the group escapes with the prisoner. This is the classical scenario that clearly depicts the importance of knowing my team and anyone in my closest circle. Trust in one another should be adamant if I want to make things work. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. If the advance is going well, I could be walking into an ambush. This is a golden rule for being successful in any circumstance, business, or life alike. Sometimes when I think my life is thriving, and nothing can hurt me or bring me down. This is when I face the most significant risks, as overconfidence can dull my senses, leaving me exposed to threatening scenarios. The pandemic COVID-19 crisis is a good example because it struck when economies were flourishing, and there weren't any major conflicts worldwide. Chapter 8, Redemption. No battle plan ever survives contact with the enemy. Planning is relevant for any scenario. Nevertheless, I should always be prepared to improvise and bite the bullet if things go haywire. Thus, even if I don't want to do something, but I must, then I really have to force myself to do it to be successful. Chapter 9, The Marshal. Everything takes longer than I think. Even if my goal in life falls short compared to traveling to the outer rim in search of others of my kind, it's better to buckle up because that will for sure be a long journey. In life, things that really matter don't come easy, and even Heracles, the greatest of all Greek heroes, had to endure 12 labors to atone for his actions. My enemies don't enemy is my best friend. The quest to kill the dragon turns into a David versus Goliath deathmatch, and everything seems lost. Afterward, the Mandalorian and Cobb Vanth manage to convince the townsfolk and the Sand People to put their ancestral query aside and form an alliance against a common enemy. This is all about how in love and war, the most important asset is the person next to me. A chain is as strong as its weakest link. Disney has fully expanded the Star Wars narrative by introducing new concepts to its universe. Mindfulness has always been a key element, and I believe we still have a lot to learn from its archetype figures. This brief collection of lessons has helped me follow a path to a better and more successful life, and I am just waiting for the next episode of The Mandalorian to find a new insight.